Maybe it's too late for new grass. Maybe it's not. Son of a bee sting, I'm telling you, it is so windy. Like the last few days, winds have been gusting around 35 miles an hour, but I couldn't care less because after 2 months of no rainfall, it is headed our way. And rain, we know it's good, right? Got to have that rain for that green, luscious, beautiful grass. Maybe you need rain because you've seeded. Maybe you need rain because you've sodded. Is it too late in the season for either one of those? Yes and no. Most likely, if you are someone that seeds, it is far too late in the season for that, especially warm season grasses. Now, if you're really far south and you haven't seen any frost yet, perhaps there's this tiny little window where you could go ahead and overseed with a winter grass for green grass through the off season. But for the most part, seeding time for this year has come and gone. Here's the catch though. Maybe you aren't someone who seeds. Maybe you are someone who sods. Now, I can't honestly tell you if I know anyone that has ever sodded a cool season lawn. If you are one of those people, tell me. Give us some information in the comments below about that process. I really don't know much about it, but what I do know a lot about is sodding warm season grasses, especially Bermuda. Warm season grasses, guess what, can be sodded any time of year. I've had 2 new lawns sodded with Bermuda grass. One was sodded in March when we were not even to the warmth of spring, and my new lawn was sodded in December when this house was built. And then I had the front yard resodded after our wall project in the summer towards the latter part of June. So warm season grasses can be seeded year-round, dormant, fresh sod, cut and green, it doesn't matter. Now, the thing about sod is there are so many more advantages to it or uses for it than just having a lawn. When I sodded this yard on the hottest day of that summer after the walls were completed, it was about 108 degrees with the heat index, and I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a comment that says, "What in the world would you put sod down on such a hot day? My gosh, shouldn't you wait till the springtime when you're still getting some warmth but it's not too brutally hot and dry?" Gosh, folks, if only it were that easy. There are so many necessities out of sod besides just the grass. One, it can help control erosion. And after putting down all this new topsoil, the last thing I wanted to do was leave it bare from June until the next spring to put down the sod. Living on a hill, all that topsoil would be gone in no time after 1 or 2 good heavy rainfalls. Not to mention weed suppression. Putting down sod over fresh topsoil as opposed to just leaving it bare is going to help you control weeds, especially in the short term. It doesn't mean that you're going to have no weeds come up through the sod at all, but you're going to limit them as much as possible. So sometimes you just got to get sod down to control erosion and suppress some weeds. Not to mention, when this house was built, I don't know what it's like in your area, when you build a new house, it doesn't make one dang bit of difference what time of year it is. For some, you have to get the sod down just to get a certificate of occupancy so that you can actually kind of move into the house. What are you going to do? Are you going to delay sodding a new yard because you want to wait to a certain time of year and you're just not going to move in? No, that's ridiculous. So sometimes you don't have a choice. I mean, think about some of the big commercial projects. If you live in an area that is just robust with commercial growth, residential growth, I mean, as soon as a building is finished, in my area at least, 99% of the time, it's getting sodded. And after it gets sodded, that business, that organization, whatever it may be, sometimes won't even touch it as far as maintaining a lawn. They may just simply mow it, take water when it rains. Perhaps they get somebody to care for it from a chemical, pesticide, herbicide standpoint. But for the most part, a lot of these areas are just sodded because they have to be. That is kind of like putting the final stamp on a project. So sometimes your sod, I know we look at it towards what is it going to be like in the long run. That's not typically what it's used for in the short term. But if you know what you're doing, guess what? It doesn't make a dang bit of difference what time of year you put the sod down, especially for warm season grass. Again, I don't know. I've never known someone to put a cool season grass down as sod. Typically, that is a process that most folks for cool season grasses like to seed. And if you're going to seed, fall tends to be the preferred time of year. It gives you time to get that seed down, get that grass germinating, gives enough time for those roots to start getting real strong before the hard, cold winter sets in. And then when it comes out in the spring and temperatures start to warm back up, it can kind of pick back up where it left off. But if you try to seed in the springtime, then you're going to be battling hot, dry weather in the short term. As summer approaches, then you haven't given those grass seedlings, that new grass coming up, enough time to establish and be strong enough to fight off a hot, potentially dry summer. But for the most part, folks, if you haven't seeded right now, your time's up. Maybe you can sod, but I do know what a lot of you are dealing with. Leaves, oh my gosh. And if you're like me, you're probably dealing with leaves off trees that aren't even yours, but these strong winds over the last few days have been, hey, look, there's my notes. I don't have all this scripted, but I try to keep a few bullet points on there so that I can not forget to tell you the things that I want to. But this lawn right here has not seen any rain or water in probably the last 2 months, and it is showing it right now compared to this time last year. We are brown, we are crispy, but the rain is coming. We have probably like a, 90% chance of rain tomorrow night. Then after that, I think it's dry weather for Halloween. And then again, this coming weekend, it looks to be wet. Amen. Amen. All right, my friends, that's all it's going to be for this episode of Budget Lawns. I appreciate you joining me as always. Make sure you leave a comment, like the video if you like it. That way you can see more of them through the off season. But until next time, take care.